Hello, so we are going to be looking at changes to Texas land. We started talking in class today about the WED processes, and so our big question is going to be, what is the effect of weathering, erosion, and deposition on the environment in the different ecoregions of Texas? So let's go ahead and get started by making sure we have our journal set up for our Cornell notes. You need to be on page 17. Make sure to put your video notes section, your question section, and your summary section. Notice I just left 3 lines for my summary today. We are going to have a bigger chunk of notes that need to go right here, so make sure you will have enough room to take your notes. And please make sure for every single slide you are taking notes because all of the information is important. Okay, so the first thing we need to know is that Texas is divided into what they call ecoregions. Okay, so you see here's a picture of Texas, which as we know is a pretty large state. And so basically it is divided into 10 sections. We call these sections ecoregions. Okay, and all an ecoregion is, it's a large area of land, and it's characterized by the types of organisms that live there and the physical features there. And what I mean by physical features is it flat plains? Are there mountains? Are there canyons? Are there deltas? Are there beaches? Okay, so based on those physical features as well as the organisms that live there, that's how they determine these 10 ecoregions. Okay, so it's important to know what an ecoregion is and that Texas has 10. Okay, so basically, this is how scientists divide the ecoregions from each other. They look at the area's ecological features and their geological features. Okay, so your ecological features, that includes like vegetation, plants, animals, fungi, basically the organisms that live in the region. Okay, so if we're talking about ecology, or ecological, we're talking about the organisms that live there. Whereas your geological features, that's like what the land physically looks like. What types of rocks are found there? What are the physical features? Like, are there mountains? Are there valleys? Are there plateaus? Are there canyons? Whatever type of landforms that we have. And if you've ever traveled to different parts of Texas, you know that the areas are going to be very, very different. Where we live, we've got a lot of flat plains. We don't have very many mountains and valleys and plateaus and canyons, but other parts of Texas would. And then if you get here along the coast, you know, what are you going to have here along the coast? Right? You might have some beaches, some deltas. Okay, so that's how those ecoregions are divided, and you'll want to make sure you know that they're divided by both their ecological and their geological features. Okay, so in general, when we define an ecoregion, we define it by these 3 things. The topography, which is just a fancy word for the shape of the land. You'll want to make sure that you know what this word means. Okay, that's a really important vocab word. Okay, so topography, which is the shape of the land. The soil conditions, is it dry soil? Is it wet soil? Is it sandy soil? Is it, you know, what type of soil is it? And the type of soil is going to determine what type of vegetation will be able to grow in that place, as well as the climate. And the climate is the average weather over a long period of time, so just what the typical weather conditions are. Okay, so these are the top 3 things that a scientist would define the ecoregion by, right? Okay, so how does WED play into these ecoregions? Okay, so we know WED stands for weathering, breaking down, erosion, moving all those sediments away, and then deposition, when all the sediments drop off in a new place. The geological features, the physical features of the land, are constantly being shaped by the WED processes. They've been shaped in the past, they're being shaped now, they'll continue to be shaped in the future. And these WED processes can affect the types of landforms that you're going to find in the area, as well as the type of soil. Okay, so that's going to play into a big factor in determining these ecoregions. Okay, so, and this is important to know, the WED processes affect each ecoregion differently. Okay, if we're over here along the coastline where we know we have, well, technically that's not an ocean, technically we have the Gulf of Mexico, where we have the Gulf of Mexico and we have our beaches here, weathering, erosion, and deposition and action is going to be a lot different here than it is up here where we are, or it is where there's mountains. Okay, so the WED processes affect each ecoregion in a different way, which can then affect the vegetation that's there. It can affect the landforms and the shape of the land that is there. And that is what we are going to continue to talk about for the rest of this week in class. Okay, so what you want to do now, I told you I would put up an example of my notes the first couple videos. So these are all the very important points that we need to know. So if you needed some help getting your notes set up for today, I did put a copy of my notes up. So here they are, and these are the main things that you want to make sure that you have copied into your notes. Okay, and so we need to make sure we know what an ecoregion is, that there are 10 ecoregions, how those ecoregions are divided and defined, and then how WED affects these ecoregions. Okay, so now it's time for you to summarize and write questions. Okay, so make sure you at least ask 1 to 2 questions in the questions column, and then make sure to summarize about ecoregions and what you learned from this video, and be ready to discuss it tomorrow. Okay, so have a great night. Make sure you have all of your Cornell notes completed, and be ready to discuss ecoregions and WED and see some of it in action tomorrow. Have a fabulous night.